All right, here we go, session 3, week 5. We're up and running. Let's go ahead and take a look at the outline. Pretty straightforward tonight, but we want to get through at least the first 3, and then if we have time, we'll jump into number 4, which is starting on our first project. But we're not going to waste any time. Let's go ahead and jump in. There's our safety checks. So we're making sure we got our eye protection, no open-toed shoes. We're all protected. Cameras are looking good. So everybody is ready to go to work. And here's what we want to do first though. Little review of what we learned and what we practiced last week. Okay, so I want to make sure we've got enough retention as we're moving through. And so this is having to do and deal with this super cool tool right here. And when you add it to our drill driver, man, we can make some cool stuff with this little tool. And to be honest with you, if I had to pick the one tool in the last 30 years that has probably made me the most money and I used it the most, it's this little ditty right here. Man, we've built and installed so many kitchen cabinets, bathroom cabinets. We've hung pictures, we've built stuff. And so this is a super great tool and we're gonna be continuing to use it. And so the question for you in review, and somebody can just raise their hand or unmute, okay? There was a 3-step process before we actually got into drilling and driving. Can anybody unmute and tell me what those 3 steps are? Or any of those steps. Let's start with that one. What do you remember? What do we have to do with this thing before it's ready to actually drill and pilot hole in things?
Okay, I'll start.
Thank you, Elise. Good job.
We took the screw and measured the length of the screw.
Uh-huh.
And adjusted the length of the
pilot bit. Yeah, I'm like reading your mind. It's amazing. Yes.
And then we used this little tool and made sure that the flat side was in the right location and then or facing the Allen, what it's called.
You're right. Yeah. Allen. It's called a hex nut. You know, it's a stupid thing. So
and then tighten it down.
Perfect. Okay, all of that is super important because if we don't tighten it down with the flat side of the drill bit, we drill through and then it gets stuck. And yeah, Sylvia's going, hey, that happened to me. Absolutely. So that was super important. Then we've got the right setup and then we're ready to rotate it 180. We're gonna drill and then we're gonna use just the tip of the cutting tool so that we just create a little tiny countersink, because if you remember, and I kind of did this on purpose, I got a little heavy there and then a little heavy there, and then my third time was a charm. So the illustration was, this isn't easy, and when this thing is spinning and we're working with really soft wood, it doesn't take much, right, to make a great little countersink, and away we go. So that is what's happening. And so I wanted to ask if anybody grabbed a scrap piece of anything. This happens to be a piece of 2x4, which makes for a perfect practice. And so what I did is I drew a layout line and then gave myself another little mark every 1 inch. And then I just went to town, man. Drill, pilot hole, drill, pilot hole, drill, pilot hole. Do it as many times as you can. So if you did any practice, can you hold it up and do a little like show and learn kind of thing? So this is what I learned. I got better as I went. I kind of got off layout right there. So this is not only learning this tool, but also can I hit the target, okay? Because we're gonna be working with some pretty thin material. And sometimes if I am off my layout by even 1/8 of an inch, we could have a problem because that screw could go in a little crooked and all of a sudden it's splitting or poking out, that's a technical term, of the piece we're trying to attach. So did anybody do any practice? Just like raise your hand or shake your head, no bueno. Okay, I had to check because that's what teachers do. Okay, so your assignment then is to do this sometime between now and next time. It's so much nicer. It takes the pressure off you if you're just using a scrap piece versus, oh my gosh, now I'm working with the real McCoy, and if I mess it up, we've got, you know, our head game starts playing with us. So that is what's scooping. And as we share and learn, again, our mistakes are excellent because we can share and figure out what went wrong. And then we learn together as a class. That is why we call it share and learn and not show and tell. You catching my little play on words there? I'm trying to have some fun. Here we go. Now, here is just the anatomy, if you will, of this tool. And so I like to call it a multi-extension because look at that, it does at least 5 things for us. And thank you, Elise, for pointing out the super important part of this tool, which happens to be the built-in Allen wrench or hex key, which is right there at the end, versus having to have one of these in your tool bag, which always gets lost, or when you're standing on a ladder and you're making the adjustment and then it drops to the floor. It's, again, frustrating and time consuming. And so, like I shared before, this version of this tool I've been using probably for 15 or so years. The manufacturer I started with changed it about 5 years in and took that little part off. I almost had a meltdown. It was sad. I had to stop and I'm like, so I went on a search and, you know, had to change manufacturers and find it. And so the one you guys have is a brand that I found, of course, in the amazing world of Amazon. And I've been super impressed. Montana Tools. I don't know, they're made in America, they're in Montana, super cool. And so far they're performing amazing. And they included the Allen key in the tool. So that's my story. That's what I'm sticking to. There is the infographic to remind everybody how amazing this cool tool is. So the circular saw, this little bad boy is going to be our new friend as well. We've talked about this in the past. If you have a healthy fear of this tool, that is a good thing. But what I don't want to do is have you have a level of fear that makes you either too timid or you don't want to try it. So not to embarrass anybody, but let's be super honest with each other. If this tool is still a little scary for you, I want you to listen tonight. I want you to watch tonight. I want you to ask questions, even put it in the chat if you want to. But I want to make sure I get all of you comfortable with this tool. So we're going to be watching, I'm going to be talking out loud, and we need to make sure we're all ready to go with this tool. The 2 primary techniques we're going to use. One is a freehand cut, kind of self-explanatory. You grab the tool, you make a line the best you can, and you're going to hold it with your hand, and you are in control of both the speed in which you're cutting through the material and the direction it's going.
Yeah, me, I'm a little too scared to use it still.
Awesome, Floor.
Yeah.
Thank you. So okay. Do a watch tonight, and then we'll ask some questions and I'll work it through with you, okay? So I so appreciate your honesty because I had 6 high school students in here. Out of the 6, only 3 were ready to work with this tool today. 2 of them, they're level 2 students. I've had them before, and they were still saying, you know what, I haven't done this in a long time, Mr. V, can I watch you for a minute? And after about 3 or 4 cuts, and then I watched them, and so it's a step-through process. If you're not ready tonight, no worries. But freehand cutting, the objective, just again, to get this in your mind, is for kind of a quicker cutting process, and it's more for rough woodwork. Rough meaning, hey, I've got a 4x8 sheet of plywood and I just need to make a simple little, cut to patch this little thing on the side of my whatever. It doesn't have to be pretty, it doesn't have to be exact, but I can't use a 4x8 sheet. So I'm gonna lay it out and I'm gonna literally freehand cut this thing, and I don't care if the line's a little wobbly, plus or minus 1/8 of an inch, I'm good to go. Same thing, I'm cutting 2x6, I'm cutting 2x2s, and I just need to cut something in half to get it inside of your Subaru, for example. I carry this to the lumber yard sometimes because I sold my truck and I don't have it anymore, and so stuff comes in 16-foot lengths. You're like, sorry. Well, little battery operated tool, zip, zip, put it in the back of your Subaru and off the road you go. So freehand cutting. Second, okay, it's going to be a speed square cross-cutting. That's like 4 words, and what do they mean? So somebody hold up a speed square. Let's just start there. What is a speed square? Dun, da, 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 yeah. Okay, so this super cool tool allows us to do 90 degree, allows us to do 45, but more importantly, if you turn it on its edge, it's got this great little T shape at the top. And so when we use that with a piece of wood and we put the T up against the edge, we're like, wow, if I hold that nice and firm against that outside edge of the board, I know for a fact that is a perfect 90 degree and that's a perfect 45 degree. And so when we combine the coolness of the speed square with the black base of our saw, we can combine those two and we can cut very nice miter cuts at a 90 degree, even a 45 if we want to, by using the 2 types of techniques, okay? The second word in there is cross-cutting. Cross-cutting. Right, here it is. Anybody know what a cross-cut is? A cross-cut. Dun, dun, dun. You're thinking, Sierra's going like, you can use hand motions. I do it all the time. We're like, okay, cross is this way. So this is parallel, this is perpendicular, this is cross. So if I'm looking at this board and the grain is going this way, what is a cross cut? Yeah, go against the grain. Okay, so different technique. We're going to be cutting across the grain. And if you understand how wood works, right, it was a tree, it has fibers, it was a living, breathing thing, and so we're cutting across the fibers. It's intentional that it is more difficult. If you can just think of the physics, I'm cutting through the cross grain versus, dun, da, da, da. Anybody know the name when you go with the grain? What is it called? What kind of cut? Here he comes.
Ripping?
Rip it. Yeah. Okay, gotcha. That was awesome. Both of Spencer at the same time. I saw him reach in, and then I heard Shelby's voice, which was kind of weird. Spencer, you sounded like Shelby there for a minute. Okay, so if you need to rip the piece of wood, you're going with the grain. We're going to go cross-cut because the type of wood we're using has been already milled perfectly and beautifully at the lumber yard. So I know that these 2 edges are parallel, the thickness is perfect, and so all I need to do if I need a 6.5 inch piece is go 6.5 inches to here, cross cut it, I've got a 6.5 piece of chunk. So the objective here is it's a precise cutting type technique, and we can use it for more fine woodworking, which is technically what we're doing. We're building these cool little craft and decorator items, and we have to be close. We can't be off by 1/8 of an inch. We can't really be off by a 1/16 of an inch. So the objective is accuracy and simplicity, and that's what I'm going to show you tonight. Okay, so that is the background story. Here is some things we need to know, and yes, that word is memorize. Okay, you need to lock this in your brain sickles here, okay? It'll make sense in a minute, but in the green it says measure from the left, cut on the right. Measure from the left, cut on the right. I kind of wrapped that for my high school students today and it didn't go well, but it is the truth. So here's how it explains. If I am taking this piece of wood and I am the operator, so it's opposite for you all, right? Okay, so it's always from your perspective. So your left, this is it right here. I'm gonna put the measuring tape in on this one, I'm gonna stretch it over here, and I'm gonna draw my line just like I did right here. And then when I'm getting ready to cut, look at the picture. Okay, so the one on the left is kind of, you're looking down at the saw, and that's the viewpoint that you need to have as an operator with our particular circ saw. So I'm gonna tilt my head a little bit and I'm looking down through the saw blade because I need to see exactly where the teeth are going to hit this piece of wood. Okay, we want precise, we don't want close. So what we're saying is that when I've drawn the line and measured from the left, I'm gonna put my blade on the right-hand side of that line. Are you guys seeing it? Yes, Sierra's going, I get it. Okay, Sierra, answer this question. Why in the world is this so pickin' important?
Because you're going to lose material with the saw.
Yeah, baby. If we measured the thickness of our blade and we cut either through the middle of it or on the left-hand side of the line, I don't care how accurate your measurement was, you just took a 1/16 off. So you're a 1/16 short. Oops. By the way, that's how much our little blade takes off. A full-size kind of commercial type blade will take up to 1/8 of an inch off. So just put this in perspective. I need to cut 6 pieces that are 13 inches long, and I got an 8-foot piece of material. Super cool. I'm gonna mark 13, 13, 13, 13, 13, 13. Okay, sounds good, right? Get ahead of the game, mark everything out. Then I start cutting, and I start ripping right through the middle of the line. Oops, let's see. First piece, I took a 1/16 off. Second piece, now I'm down 1/8. Third piece, I'm 3/16. And you see what I'm saying? You get to the end and you stack them all up, right? And you go, I am so smart, and I got all my pieces, and you go, holy cow, every single piece is not the same size. Super bummer, because we don't have a board stretcher yet. And now I've got 1 piece that's correct and 5 pieces that are incorrect. And what typically happens is you go, well, I can't stretch it, so I got to cut the other 5 short, and you go through this whole song and dance. So memorize this. Now, same thing. If you measure from the left, or excuse me, you measure from the right, you cut on the left, because sometimes you have to. It's just the way the material works. But just get in your head that when you are doing this in about 5 minutes, you're going to make sure you line up on the correct side of the line, or if we need to, you line up in the middle and you cut right down through the middle. So that is one part of our cross-cutting experience. And here is what we're going to do. So to get us started, we're going to do a freehand cut first, okay? And we're going to use all 3 of our clamps. So let's make sure you got your 3 clamps somewhere nearby, because we are working with smaller pieces of wood so that they would fit in our little cool, container kit. And so we're going to use some different techniques to keep us safe and to also keep our accuracy, how we actually cut through. So again, kind of watch along with me, and then we will have you guys do this as well. I'm going to change views here real quick and set this up so I can demonstrate it first. You guys watch, and then we'll have some Q&A, and then we'll get you guys ready to go. All right, so what our objective is tonight is that we want to take this board and we're going to practice cut through the same line that we were drilling in. Super cool. We can use that because this second line is the exact line that we need for the piece that we're building. So we don't want to mess with that until we feel good. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the first piece and I'm going to set it on the deck after I get my little switcher. So I'm going to kind of line it up all the way to my left-hand side. I'm going to put 1 clamp on the end, and then I'm going to put 1 clamp about right in the middle. Now, here's what's happening. I need to cut off this last little 1/2 inch, and if I set my saw blade where it needs to be, you guys follow? I've got about not even 1/3 of the saw resting on the piece of wood, but I've got 2/3 that has nothing that it's resting on. And so this is bad, okay? You never want your tool to wobble this way. That is an excellent way to get it to pinch or bind, and then the saw wants to kick and jerk and do things that we don't want it to do. So in order to make this in balance, we're gonna put an extra piece of wood, which we just happen to have, onto this side and leave about 1 inch or so between the two. And now what happens is we've got a way to rest the entire base of the saw at the same thickness so that as we gently push through, the saw is going to stay flat against our work surface. That's super key number one. You never want to pull back. You never want to tilt side to side. You want it to cut perfectly parallel to the surface as we're pushing the saw through. Okay, so now we've got it set up. We're going to freehand this first line. And so our particular saw has a couple of different marks. So this first little notch happens to be right where our blade is going to start cutting. So if I was freehanding something and I really didn't care exactly where it was going to go, I can take that line and match it up with my 0 mark and get it ready to go, and I can set up for my cut. So my line is set. What I'm doing is making sure that my base is flat on both sides. I'm going to put my hand on the top. I'm going to push the safety button. I'm kind of out of frame there. Let's change that. Perfecto. So once I have it lined up, I've got it flat. I'm going to trigger the safety. I'm going to put my hand on top, trigger the saw, and look at my line. Nice and easy. Cut right through. Once you've made it through the piece, which is a great view, okay, so straight down, you can see I did not actually keep the saw going and push it all the way through the table. At about the middle point of your circular saw, right, we have a circle and we're cutting rectangles. As that blade works through the bottom half of the material, we have to push the blade a little bit further in order to actually cut that piece completely off. So don't start or don't stop early. Make sure you follow through until you know you've got the bottom half of the piece cut off. Okay, so that's one. I'm going to do another one. All right, cool. I'm going to change my clamps, put my second piece down, clamp it there. Okay, here's a good tip too. If I put my clamp there, do I have a problem? Yeah, so part of my tool is going to run into it, and so we've got to just make sure we've got that offset by 3 or 4 inches so we've got plenty of room, okay? So I may be lining it up here. So I look at the first line, but then I'm going to tilt my head and I'm going to look down where the actual blade is going to make contact with that leading edge, okay? So another super important safety tip is that when I'm lining up the material, I can actually touch that blade against that edge of the board, but I do not, I repeat, do not want to start the blade while my blade is touching that leading edge. Okay, so it's the same thing kind of with our teeth. I've got it wrapped around it and I'm holding it, and then I trigger, it's going to jam the blade and it's going to want to kick the saw forward. We don't like that. Kickbacks are bad. Kickbacks are bad. So I line it up and then I'm going to pull the tool back just about 1/4 inch so that the blade can freely spin, and then I'm going to release the safety, put my hand on top, trigger, and freehand as I see that piece go through. Now, you're seeing me pull through. I release the trigger, so that stops the motor. The blade is still spinning. So what I like to do is just hold it in place. Again, it takes less than 2 seconds for that blade to use the friction of the wood and the material to stop it before I actually lift it out of place. That's a good professional safety. Now, you get going and all of a sudden you pull that saw back while the blade is still spinning, and I accidentally hit the corner of that piece. Same thing, blade spinning, tool jerks, and kickback. We don't like kickbacks. Kickbacks are bad, okay? So that's what I want us to do. Let's do a quick little question and answer here, okay? Any thoughts or things that you don't understand from what I just demonstrated for you guys? Yeah, go for it, Elise.
I have a quick question. So are we adjusting the depth of the blade?
You betcha. I'll show that in just a second. Thank you very much. Okay. So just like when we're setting up our pilot hole and our drill bit, the first thing in our mind is going to be what depth are we set at, and I'll show you a super fast way to do that. It's really great. Okay, so depth is set, and then we go into our freehand cut. Good. Shanna, did you have your hand up also?
I had the same question.
Wow, you guys are like right above each other. It's transferring there. Okay, so let's do that real quick. So I'm getting this thing set up, ready to go. If I do this, and with our cool little saw, if I just set it on the deck, kind of on its side, so everybody do that real quick. Set it on its side. We've got a little scrap piece of the material that we're using, and so if I put that piece up against the bottom of the tool, you can see the amount of blade that is sticking through the bottom. Everybody with me? You can leave the safety guard in place. That's one of the reasons I like this tool. It's clear, and so I don't need my other saw. It's not. You have to pull it back and expose the blade and do it this way. Good thought, right? If I can keep the blade covered, we keep the blade covered. Now, if we were zooming in, can somebody tell me if I have too much blade coming through or not enough blade coming through? What do you think? I'll hold it up closer. Oops, there it is. Too much blade or not enough blade? Anybody?
Too much.
Too much, good choice. Okay, so the standard pick is, and you can see how deep my line went into our sacrificial piece. So not good, because if I was a little bit deeper, now I'm cutting into my grandma's, kitchen table or something. That's bad, right? So the blade depth, super important. But if I do this, what we want to see is half of a tooth, half of a tooth. So we know the blade has teeth. Different blades have bigger teeth, but our teeth are pretty small. So if I set that there, and then here's what we're going to do. That little gray knob right there, we're going to just loosen it a smidge, right? So it's just a little, it's about ½ an inch of a turn. And now that base will slide back and forth. So what I want you to do is slide it down until you look down the edge of your board and you've got ½ a tooth sticking out on the bottom side of the board. And then go ahead and tighten that nut down again. Finger tight here. We don't need to crank on it. We don't need to grab pliers. It's designed just to be snug. So once I have that set, and as long as I don't change the material I'm cutting, the depth is set, and we can continue to freehand cut until we pull another piece of material. Okay? That is our setup. That is the technique. Those are great questions. Any other questions on that, you guys, before we let you guys do some freehand cutting? All right, I think you guys are ready. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and just stand here and watch video and make sure if you guys have any questions, we can get that covered, and then we'll come right in. All right, here we go. Technique number 2 then is gonna be talking about the speed square cross cutting. We gotta do just a little more setup, but look at the image that's on the screen. It should look fairly similar, right? We're gonna have the piece that we're cutting on the left. We're gonna keep our block, right, on the right-hand side, but we're gonna add in now our speed square. And if you're looking at that picture, I've got the speed square clamped down to our cutting piece, and that's how we're gonna create this perfect guided tour of cutting through the material, all right? So that's the first thing we wanted to take a look at. Secondly, oh dear. Okay, so again, we're gonna watch, we're gonna ask questions, and then we're gonna do it. So we're gonna wad this thing. So let's take a look and see how this is gonna play out real quick. So the next line we're gonna cut is the line that we want to keep, okay? So that is the distance. It's 13 inches from the left. I measured from the left, so I'm gonna cut on the right-hand side of that line. So I can put that on my table. I can clamp that first one to hold it in place, okay? Now we're gonna grab our speed square, and we're gonna put that, again, along the bottom edge, or the edge that's closest to you, and we're using the T square, right? The T side. So I've got my hand here. I'm putting a little bit of pressure to hold it in place. Super important that we keep that T frame against that leading edge. Don't let it slide off like this. Don't let it slide off like that, because whatever this is doing, we're going to trace that and it'll cut the wrong angle, okay? So I'm sliding it here. Step 2, already know that the blade depth is set right because we're cutting the same material. Check, check. But now I'm going to set it up on my deck and I'm going to start looking right down through that part of the saw that I can see where the blade is touching the front edge of the board. So I'm literally going to kind of touch the edge because I want to see where that blade is going to cut. And if I'm looking right down there, I'm going to set it and just hold the saw in that position because that's where I want it to start. Then I'm going to slide my speed square over and adjust it. So you saw right there, it's a little bit crooked. I'm going to adjust the saw to match this angle right here. So we want this to be snug because if we've got the base of the tool next to our speed square, that's going to be how we're going to guide our cut. All right, so now I got it the way I want to. I'm going to move my left hand and put some pressure right here. I'm going to hold it in place because we only have 2 hands as humans. I'm going to set the saw down. I'm going to grab my second clamp and I'm going to put it onto the speed square right where I have the combination that comes down from the side. So it'll clamp it in place, and now that speed square is right where we want it to be, and it's actually locked in, ready to go, okay? So that was step 2. Now, the good news is, the technique is I have to make sure I keep this part of the saw, right, the base of the saw, snug against the guide rail of our speed square, okay? So let me show you some graphics real quick for those of us that need to see and can learn from that. Here is the picture of what we're talking about, okay? It's going to stay nice and tight against the speed square on the left and the black base of the saw on the left, okay? Here is, we're going to come back to that. That is our goal. So now, instead of freehanding it and kind of having to watch the line, what I'm going to watch is just to make sure the black part of the base is up against the blue part of our speed square, okay? So I'm going to gently hold it in place. I can put a 2-hand cut. I'm looking right down underneath my forearm so I can see where it's touching the edge of the speed square. I'm going to pull back about 1/4 inch. I'm going to safety the tool, trigger, and then guide it on through. Bada bing. Super clean, super good. Let's see how we did. So if I take that clamp off and I take that clamp off and we hold this up and we go, how did we do? I can line my 2 edges up, and if I don't see a gap right there and right there, we just cut that board at a perfect 90-degree angle and it's right on the mark. And so if I was to take my tape measure and just double check my work, we needed 13 inches. Let's see if I can show you guys at home. Look at that, 13 inches, plus or minus a 64th. We'll take it, okay? Awesome. Okay, so that was one demonstration. Let's do a little questions here. Anybody have any thoughts or questions on what we just did there? All right, so if there's no questions, let's go ahead and set up for our speed square crosscut, and we're going to set up to cut on that 13-inch line, and we're going to set the blade up on the right-hand side, okay? So I'm going to move this piece to the top of the board. I'm going to grab my second piece. I'm going to clamp it, keeping the leading edge straight with the front side of my work surface. I'm going to grab my saw and my speed square, get the speed square lined up against the bottom edge, get my blade lined up to the right-hand side of my line, slide my speed square over, make sure it's all snug and lined up right where I want it to be. Key tip, keep your left hand on the material, right? So that we can hold this down with our left hand while we grab our third clamp. Super important. If we move that speed square, it's not going to cut where we want it to cut. So this is kind of the slow it down, take your time, gently squeeze down, and then now, look, Mom, no hands, okay? We're ready. So then I can take my saw, set it up so that the blade is about 1/4 inch away from the front edge. Second hand on top, trigger the saw, cutting while we're holding it against the speed square. Beautiful. Piece number 2. Love it. Looks good, feels good, smells good. I love the smell of pine on a Tuesday evening. Okay. All right. So I'm going to go ahead and come over here, watch, and let you guys ask questions if you need to. Here's what you've got. Everybody's successfully cut, and as long as the ends of our board are within, let's say, a 16th or a 64th, if you want to get really micro, we're going to be in great shape, because when we put together our frames, we're going to make sure we match up the two that are the closest. Those are going to be our stiles, and then we'll have our rails, and we'll make a cool little frame. But here's where it comes in play. If I'm trying to make a perfectly square frame and I miscut piece number 3 by a 16th, and then I put it here, again, this is where geometry starts to become fun, because it's going to be off a smidge, which means it's going to open this gap a little bit, and we're going to make that adjustment if we need to. But learning how to cross-cut accurately with our speed square, that was step number 1, and then we'll get into our next techniques next time. Okay, everybody? All right, thumbs up. Well, great work, everybody. We're going to keep the next section, which is we're going to be cutting our parts for our boxy bookends next session, and we'll be off and running, you guys.